Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf chairman Imran Khan has said marriage to Reham Khan was the biggest mistake of his life. These are Imran's rare remarks about his past marriage with the former TV show host Reham. Imran Khan also revealed that he did not see his third wife, Bushra Menika's face till after they were married. The Election Commission of Pakistan has dismissed claims of granting magisterial powers to the armed forces personnel on poll duty. The poll panel has clarified that army will be stationed to ensure a free and fair election, but this comes after the Election Commission drew criticism from the Senate over its decision. PTI candidate Sardar IKRAMULLAH GANDAPUR has been killed as a suicide bomber targeted his vehicle in the 3 weeks leading to the vote. At least 179 people have been killed in attacks across the country, but mainly focused on western Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa provinces. Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan has claimed responsibility of the suicide attack. Pakistan poll panel has postponed elections in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa's constituency 99 following the death of PTI candidate in a suicide blast. Rawalpindi polls have also been deferred after disqualification of PMLN candidate Hanif Abbasi. A special anti-narcotics court had sentenced Abbasi to life in the FEUD quota case just 4 days before the general elections in the country. PMLN founder Nawaz Sharif has fallen sick in the Adiyala jail. Sources to WION have confirmed the Sharif's health is worsening. Doctors fear kidney failure due to water reduction in Sharif's body. A medical board has been called at the Adiyala jail only after thorough inspection by the medical board. The decision to shift Nawaz to a hospital or not will be taken. The Pakistan Army has asked the country's apex court to look into Islamabad High Court judge's allegations. It comes a day after the High Court judge accused the country's powerful ISI spy agency of meddling in the affairs of the judiciary and pressuring the Chief Justice and other judges to get favourable verdicts. Siddiqui had alleged that the inter-services intelligence was manipulating judicial proceedings in several cases, including that of ousted Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. The Indian government is considering the possibility of amending the Indian penal to define mob lynching as a penal offence. This comes in the wake of rising cases of mob lynching in India. Last week, a Muslim man was beaten to death by a mob in Rajasthan on suspicion of being a cow smuggler. The government may also strengthen the framework related to the social media to check rumours that often trigger such incidents. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to kick off his 5-day visit to 3 nations of Africa from today to attend BRICS summit. Modi is likely to meet Chinese President Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the summit. The meeting Modi and Xi will take place nearly 3 months after they held a 2-day informal summit in the Chinese city of Wuhan in late April. Chinese President Xi Jinping begins his visit to Rwanda today, becoming the first Chinese head of state to visit the African country. In an interview, Rwandan President Paul Kagame spoke highly of China's Belt and Road Initiative, saying that it is bringing a win-win result both to Africa and China. The Rwandan president hopes to strengthen his country's ties with China through bilateral interactions scheduled with the Chinese president. Iranian president has warned the United States not to play with the lion's tail or it will regret it. Iranian president asked his American counterpart to stop provoking against the country. He reiterated that the United States was incapable of stopping Iran from selling its crude oil on the world market. Los Angeles police have identified the suspect in Saturday's deadly armed standoff at a grocery store. Atkins is being held on one count of murder and other charges soon to be determined. His bail has been set at $2 million. Grocery store's employee died in the standoff, which stretched over several tense hours Saturday before the gunman surrendered. Around 25,000 people braved the rain in Munich on Sunday to protest against Chancellor Angela Merkel's Bavarian allies. Protest was against the hardline immigration stance of Merkel's allies 3 months before they face a tough state election in Bavaria. Finance ministers and central rankers from the world's largest economies have wrapped up their G20 meetings in Buenos Aires. The weekend talks in Buenos Aires comes at a time of escalating rhetoric in the trade conflict between the world's largest economies, the United States and China, which have so far slapped tariffs on $34 billion worth of each other's goods. U.S. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin has said that G7 industrial powers are taking his call to drop tariffs, non-tariff trade barriers seriously. Mnuchin added that the Trump administration would press these issues in upcoming talks with the European Union's top executive. Mnuchin said at the close of a G20 finance leaders meeting that Trump's trade stance was not about protectionism, but wanting free and fair trade for U.S. Ecuador officials are planning to withdraw asylum protection for WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange and hand him over to British authorities. As per reports, Ecuador's President Lenin Moreno has met with British officials in London to finalize the agreement. Assange has been at the embassy since 2012. Cuba's National Assembly has approved a draft for a new constitution, which will be put up for public approval in a referendum next month. It would pave the way for new rights for women and the LGBTQ community. Once lawmakers have approved the draft, it will be submitted to a popular consultation. The final document, which could include changes, will then be put to a national referendum. Mexican President-elect Andrés Manuel López Obrador has sent U.S. President Donald Trump a letter calling for a swift conclusion to NAFTA negotiations. Obrador pledged his wish to reset relations between the two countries. The letter was delivered during a recent meeting in Mexico with senior U.S. officials, though details were disclosed when Trump received it. The Israeli army has released a video footage showing an overnight operation to evacuate Syrian white helmets through Israel to Jordan. Hundreds of members of Syria's White Helmet Civil Defense Group and their families fled advancing government forces and slipped over the border into Jordan overnight with the help of Israeli soldiers and Western powers. The Syrian army prepared an offensive into areas controlled by Islamic State fighters near the Jordan-Israel border in southwestern Syria. It happened during a government-organized visit to a recently recaptured part of western Deraa. A Syrian army officer said that no agreements would be struck with Islamic State in southern Syria and that he expected militants to be cleared from the area within a week. Hundreds of protesters gathered in downtown Baghdad on Sunday to demand better economic and living conditions. Demonstrations of varying intensity have been happening in Iraq for 2 weeks now. Even as political parties struggle to form a viable government following parliamentary elections in May, the protesters have been mainly complaining about the lack of jobs. An explosion has occurred near the airport in the Afghan capital Kabul on Sunday. As many as 10 people were killed and wounded in the blast. Blast occurred shortly after Vice President Abdul Rashid Dostum left the area following his arrival home from more than an year in exile in Turkey. The blast occurred near an airport entrance where supporters had been waiting to greet Dostum as his motorcade passed on its way to the city centre. Afghan Vice President Abdul Rashid Dostum narrowly escaped a suspected suicide bomb attack at Kabul airports as he returned home on Sunday. Rashid was in exile for more than a year in Turkey over allegations of torturing and abusing a political rival. Dostum had left the airport in a motorcade only minutes before the explosion. Thousands took to the streets of Nicaragua demanding the removal of President Daniel Ortega. The march was amidst a mounting death toll of protesters critical of his government. Nicaragua has been racked by civil unrest since protests broke out in April against former Marxist guerrilla leader Ortega and his plans to cut welfare benefits. Gunmen shot and dead 11 taxi drivers returning to Johannesburg from the funeral of a colleague in KwaZulu-Natal. The drivers, who were members of the Gauteng Taxi Association, were in a minibus driving along the R74 when unknown gunmen launched an ambush and opened fire. 4 people were also injured in the attack.